بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين اللهم انفعنا بما علمتنا وعلمنا ما ينفعنا اللهم زدنا علما إنك أنت عليم الحكيم اللهم اجعل هذه المحاضرة حجة لنا لا حجة علينا يا رب العالمين أما بعد. This is our third class for Kitab Talaaq, or the book of divorce. We're coming from the book Zaad Al-Mustaqni from Imam Abu Musa Al-Hajjawi rahimahullah ta'ala. Today inshallah ta'ala we're going to cover a book, it's under the book of divorce, but it's another part, it's another book. It's called Kitab Al-Raj'ah. Kitab Al-Raj'ah. What is Raj'ah? What does that mean? Does anyone know? You know? طيب الرجعة وهي إعادة المطلقة غير بائن إلى ما كانت عليه بغير عقد. And this means that a person, they have the ability to take their spouse back. So for example, if a person divorced his wife, the first divorce, obviously assuming that a divorce is a Sunni divorce, and he divorces her, and when he divorces her, he takes her back during the iddah period. This is called a raj'ah. But we have something else called ba'in. Have you ever heard this term ba'in before? Ba'in is when there are two types of ba'in. We have baynuna sughra and baynuna kubra. The small separation and the large separation. The small separation, baynuna sughra, is, for example, if a man divorces his wife, and since he divorced his wife, and she goes through her iddah period, her 3 menstrual cycles, Talaqatul Quruz, she finishes her 3 menstrual cycles. At that point in time, this is called, once they finish, this is called baynuna sughra. Baynuna sughra. Baynuna sughra it means that he cannot take her back, and if he wanted to marry her again, then he would have to give her a new dowry, mahar, and all of that. Is that clear?
Somewhat.
Right.
Now, you said she has to have 3 menstrual cycles.
Right.
So she doesn't have to get married to someone else?
We didn't get to that part. Right now, we're just talking about a regular divorce. Let's say, for example, you have your wife, you divorce her the first divorce. Okay? She goes through her 3 menstrual periods. Once that's finished, you can't take her back. This is called baynuna sughra. Or the second divorce. It could be a first divorce or a second divorce, but you don't take her back. You let her iddah period run out. This is called baynuna sughra. Baynuna sughra. Then the next one, we have baynuna kubra, which is a big separation, in that they would consider this like thalatha talqat. For example, if a man divorces his wife 3 times. If a man divorces his wife 3 times, he can't marry her again unless she marries someone else. What's the name of this one again? This is called baynuna kubra. So, baynuna sughra is a raj'ah, meaning a raj'iyya, the first divorce or second divorce. Al-kubra is the 3 divorces, thalatha talqat. For example, a man divorced his wife 3 times. This is an example. It's going to come up again. This is why I'm mentioning it now. طيب. Kitab al-Raj'ah. وهي ثابتة. So here, this book, Raj'ah, meaning returning the wife back, taking the wife back again, it is supported by the Quran, the Sunnah, and Ijma'. As far as the Quran, وهي ثابتة. أما الكتاب, as for the Quran, we find the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where Allah says, وَالْمُطَلَّقَاتُ يَتَرَبَّصْنَ بِأَنفُسِهِنَّ ثَلَاثَةَ قُرُوءٍ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that the women that are divorced, then they stay to themselves, بِأَنفُسِهِمْ ثَلَاثَةَ قُرُوءٍ, meaning they still remain under the care of that husband for 3 menstrual periods. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَبُعُولَتُهُنَّ أَحَقُّ بِرَدِّهِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ إِنْ أَرَادُوا إِصْلَاحًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the husbands have more of a right to return the women if they want to rectify. إِذَا أَرَادُوا إِصْلَاحًا, if they all want rectification. And this is in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 228. وَالْمُرَادُ بِالرَّجْعَةِ. So the ulama, they say, what is intended by raj'ah? Or in this verse, what they say, وَالْمُرَادُ بِهِ الرَّجْعَةِ. In this ayah here, in Surah Al-Baqarah, this here is talking about raj'ah, meaning taking the wife back. And this is the position of many of the ulama and the scholars of tafsir of the Quran. This is what they all said. وَقَالَ تَعَالَى. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also says, وَإِذَا طَلَّقْتُمُ النِّسَاءَ فَبَلَغْنَ أَجَلَهُنَّ فَأَمْسِكُوهُنَّ بِمَعْرُوفٍ. Allah Jalla wa Ala also says, if you divorce the women, فَبَلَغْنَ أَجَلَهُنَّ, meaning if they reach the end of their iddah period, فَأَمْسِكُوهُنَّ, meaning before they reach the end, hold on to them, بِمَعْرُوفٍ. Then you can hold on to them, take them back in goodness. And it says, وَمَعْنَاهُ. They said the meaning of this verse, إِذَا قَرَبْنَا بَلُوغَ أَجْلِهِنَّ, if they come close to the end of their iddah period. And this is also in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse number 231. Verse number 231. Right. وَأَمَّا السُّنَّةِ. So right now, the first thing we established was that it was legislated in the Quran. The next aspect now is the Sunnah. وَأَمَّا السُّنَّةِ فَرَوَى ابن عمر رضي الله تعالى عنه قال طلقت امرأتي وهي حائض. He said, I divorced my wife while she was on her menses. فسأل عمر النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فقال مره فليراجعها. The Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام, he told Umar to take his wife back. He told him to take his wife back. راجعها, meaning take her back. And this hadith you can find in Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. وروى أبو داود عن عمر قال إن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم طلق حفصة ثم راجعها. In another narration, it said that the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام, he divorced Hafsa ثم راجعها, then he took her back. طيب. وأجمع أهل العلم على أن حرة. And there's a consensus of the people of knowledge that a Muslim can take his wife back as long as it's not less than 3, as long as it's less than 3 divorces, as long as it's less than 3 divorces. طيب. قال المصنف رحمه الله تعالى. So here, in this part here, in this chapter, this book called the chapter. So in one book, and I'm going to mention this, in one book, one of the more mutawwal, the longer books of fiqh, according to the school of Imam Ahmed, they call it Kitab al-Raj'ah. Kitab al-Raj'ah, right? This is Sharh al-Kabir. And then we have another book called Zaad Al-Mustaqni, the one that we're studying. The same chapter is not a whole book, it's just called the chapter. So it says the chapter of Raj'ah, the chapter of returning the spouse. So before we get into this chapter, there are conditions, shurut, conditions in order for a man to take his wife back. Does anyone know any conditions? There are 6. They mentioned 6 conditions. Does anyone know any conditions?
Take her back.
To take her back.
She hasn't, as you mentioned, she hasn't had 3 menstrual cycles.
Okay, that's one.
Right.
It's real simple if you think about it, right? So the first one, man talaqa. So obviously, the one who divorced her, she has to be divorced first, right? There's no raj'ah for a woman that hasn't been what? Divorced, right? Bila iwad. Bila iwad This means that there was no compensation paid to the husband. Does that make sense? It's number 2. No compensation paid to the husband. Does that make sense? What's understood by compensation? Suppose she paid money from the divorces. What would that be? A khul'a. It would be a khul'a. But the next one is zawjatuhu. Obviously, it has to be his wife, right? It has to be his wife, right? Madkhulan biha. So here's 2 parts. In order for there to be a raj'ah, she has to be madkhulan biha. Madkhulan means he has to have had intercourse with her. Or makhlulan biha, or he had to be alone with her, where he had the opportunity to have intimacy with her. And this here is there's a difference of opinion in the school of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal as it relates to that. Right. So this is the 4th one. If he had to have intercourse with her, what if he married her and he didn't have intercourse with her and he divorced her? Does she still have an iddah period?
Does she have an iddah period? We'll go back to, you said there's difference of opinion.
According to this right now, what we're talking about today, does she have an iddah period? If a man divorces his wife,
No.
but he never had intercourse with her, nor was he ever alone with her,
No.
is there an iddah period?
No.
La. There's no iddah period for her. This is why the ulama mention here, madkhulan biha, meaning he has to have had intercourse with her or was alone with her. Duna ma lahu min al-'iddad. The 5th one is that it has to be less than 3 divorces. A man has, how many divorces does he have? 3. Once he reaches the 3rd divorce, there's no what? There's no taking it back. Ahsan. Right. The next one, فَلَهُ رَجْعَتُهَا فِي عِدَّتِهَا. It is for him to, he can take her, this is the 6th one, he can take her back in her iddah, during her iddah. Now, this is a part that some sisters may be unaware of. As the ulama mentioned, وَلَوْ كَرِهَتْ. What if a husband divorced his wife? He divorced her. 1 iddah period goes by. The 2nd iddah period goes by. She's happy that he divorced her. She doesn't want him to take her back. And he takes her back. Is it a condition for her to be happy to want to be back?
No.
La. It's not a condition.
No.
وَلَوْ كَرِهَتْ. Even if she hates it, he can still take his wife back. Yes.
Sorry. Could you repeat what the 4th condition was?
The 4th condition?
Yes.
Madkhulan biha. He had to have had intercourse with her or was alone with her where the possibility of intercourse was present. Is that clear up until this point?
No.
Thank you. The next part here, it gets a bit tricky because there are some issues that we need to discuss. Right. All right, so if a man takes his wife back, how does he take a wife back? What does he do? So here it says, بِلَفْدٍ رَجَعْتُ إِمْرَأَتِي. The first statement is, I took my wife back, أو نحوه, or anything similar to that, or anything similar to that. The next one is, لا, you cannot say لا نكحتها. يعني لا نكحتها, meaning نكحتها, I married her. That doesn't mean you took her back. This is also ambiguous. This is a term that can't be used like that. It's ambiguous. وَيُسَنُّ الْإِجْهَادِ. Also, if a person takes his wife back, يُسَنُّ الْإِجْهَادِ, meaning it is highly recommended, according to Imam Hajjawi here, it is sunnah that you have witnesses when you take your wife back. It is sunnah to have witnesses ala raj'ah. It's not a condition. It's not a condition. It's just something that is recommended. The next one. وهي زوجة لها وعليها حكم الزوجات لكن لا قسم لها. So, if a man divorces his wife, does she lose any rights? Let's say it's a talaaq raj'iyya. It's a talaaq raj'iyya, meaning he can take her back or he doesn't have to take her back. Does she lose any rights? She doesn't lose any
The
rights?
sexual rights.
We'll get to that in a minute. Does she lose any rights?
When he can take her back, no.
She doesn't lose no rights.
She's still under his care for 3 menstrual cycles.
Huh?
She's still under his care for 3 menstrual cycles, correct?
Yes, but does she lose any rights?
I know. I'm not that I know.
You don't know.
I don't know.
Not to your knowledge. Baby, she. Huh? Shin. Shay? Huh? Like, so actually she does lose some rights. Not some, one in particular. What does she lose? Otherwise it wouldn't be a divorce. Huh? La kasma laha, meaning she loses her nights. So let's say, for example, if a man divorces his wife. Here's a scenario. A man divorces his wife. They live in the same house. He can just not come back to the house. He can leave until her iddah period is over and come back, or meaning she's not entitled shar'an to any nights. Right. Now, the next issue here, we're going to mention this issue for a few reasons. Number one, in this city, there's a lot of people who have information about Islam. And so it's possible that people read narrations or positions and they run with it. And some people don't know, and many people are unfamiliar. So we're going to mention the different positions here on this next issue. Then we'll mention from the aspect of wisdom and hikmah and what is preferable. And Allah knows best. The next part here, وَتَحْصُلُ رَجْعَةً أَيْضًا بِوَطْئِهَا وَلَوْ لَمْ يَنْوِي بِهِ الرَّجْعَةِ. So, according to the madhab of Imam Ahmed, the position that they take here is that if a man divorces his wife and then he has intercourse with her, right? According to the school of Imam Ahmed, he took her back, even if he didn't intend to take her back. Is that clear? Again, if a man divorces his wife, right? She's in her iddah period and he has intercourse with her. According to the school of Imam Ahmed in this book here, as soon as he has intercourse with her, he takes her back. Mujarrad. Whether he meant to take her back, whether he wanted to take her back or not, he took her back. Now, whether he intended it or did not intend it. Now, there's a difference of opinion on this. And the reason why I'm going to mention it is because there are people that read a lot of stuff, especially here. Right? You come across statements of some of the early men, you say, well, I read this or read that. So here, there is some difference of opinion on it. Meaning, there's some of the salaf that hold the position that if he is intimate with her, it doesn't mean that he took her back if he didn't intend to what? Take her back. But here we have فَإِن قُلْنَا إِنَّهَا مُبَاحَةٌ حَصَلَتِ الرَّجْعَةِ بِوَطْئِهَا. So here are some of the positions of, as it relates to support the position here of Imam Ahmed. It says, if he has intercourse with his wife, سَوَاءً نَوَى رَجْعَ أَمْ لَمْ يَنْوِي. He takes her back whether he intended to take her back, or he did not intend to take her back, he still took her back if he had intercourse with her. اختارها ابن حامد. And there are some of the Salaf who held this position. Number one, Ibn Hamid والقاضي وهو قول سعيد بن المسيب والحسن البصري وابن السيرين وأعطى والطاووس وزهري والثوري والأوزاعي وابن أبي ليلى وأصحاب الرأي. All of these are some of the people from the Salaf that also held this position. وقال بعضهم, and some of them say يشهد, meaning that there has to be witnesses that you take her back. وقال مالك وإسحاق, and Imam Malik وإسحاق, he said يكون رجعة إذا أراد به الرجعة. According to Imam Malik, he takes her back if he intended to take her back by having intercourse with her. This is the position of Imam Malik. لأن هذه مدة تفضي إلى بينونة. Because this is an issue they say leads to a complete separation. But here we're going to read some statement of Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, and then we'll go back to the position of Imam Ahmed here. This is called the Shaykh Taqiyuddin. Taqiyuddin here is Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala. He says, Abu Hanifa yaj'alu wat raj'ah. So Shaykh al-Islam, he's going to mention some of the positions of the ulama from the past. So he says, Abu Hanifa, he considers having intercourse with your wife raj'ah, meaning as soon as you're intimate with her, you took her back. وهو أحد الروايات عن أحمد, and this is one of the positions of Imam Ahmed. والشافعي لا يجعله رجعة وهو رواية عن أحمد. Imam al-Shafi doesn't consider that to be taking her back. This is the position of who? Imam al-Shafi. He doesn't consider it to be a condition to taking her back if he didn't intend it. ومالك يجعله رجعة معنية. And Imam Malik says that if he intended it, then he took her back. And he says, Shaykh al-Islam says, وهو رواية أيضا عن أحمد. This is another position of Imam Ahmed. So we find what Imam Ahmed is. Imam Ahmed may have a position for all of them, and according to a school, they select his tulab, his students, and the ones who study the madhab say this is the position, the strongest position with Imam Ahmed. So it says, فَيَبِيحُ وَطْءَ الرَّجْعَ إِذَا قَصَدَ بِهِ الرَّجْعَ. So Shaykh al-Islam says, فَيَبِيحُ وَطْءَ الرَّجْعَ إِذَا قَصَدَ بِهِ الرَّجْعَ. Shaykh al-Islam, he says, he sees it to be mubah, meaning no problem for a man to have intercourse with his wife, that is raja'iyya, if he intends to take her back. If he intends to take her back. And what he says after that, the reasoning for it, he says, وَهَذَا أَعْدَلُ الْأَقْوَى. This is the most just of all the statements. This is the most just of all the statements. And he says, وَأَشْبَهُهَا بِالْأُصُولِ. And this is similar to the foundations of the religion. So what he's saying is essentially is that فَيَبِحُ وَطْءَ الرَّجْعَ إِذَا قَصَدَ بِهِ الرَّجْعَ. It's permissible for him if a person wants to have intimacy with the wife that is in iddah, if he intends to what? Take her back. If he intends to take her back. And he said this is the most just of the statements. And with the position of the position of Imam Ahmed here, he also holds the position that we're following here in this book, فَتَحْصُلُ رَجْعَ أَيْضًا بِوَطْئِهَا. That if he is intimate with his spouse, then he took her back, whether he intended it or not. Now, just look at it on the flip side from a woman's perspective. Not that we're women here, but we're men. But in her mind, she's thinking that you took her back. And in reality, you did not what? Take her back. If that was the position you wanted to follow, that could leave some damage there, some psychological damage or what have you. Huh? But he also says, وَلَا تَصِحُّ مُعَلَّقَةٌ بِشَرْطٍ. It's also not permissible for a man to divorce his wife. It says, I'll take you back if this. If you do this, then I'll take if. And this is something that is the shart here. He says, if the first of the month comes, then I'll take you back, or something like that. This is not correct to say this. But the next part. فإذا طهرت من حيضة الثالثة ولم تغتسل فله رجعتها. If the sister or the wife is in her third menstrual cycle, if she's in her third menstrual cycle, what is the last time that the husband can take his wife back? Huh? Before she makes a ghusl. What do you say?
No, that's how.
Before she takes a fight. Before she takes a ghusl. That's correct. Before she takes a ghusl. Once she takes a ghusl, then he can no longer take her back, and she becomes Baynuna. She becomes Baynuna Sughra, which means if he wanted to marry her again, he would have to do what?
She would have to marry somebody.
I'm sorry?
She would have to marry somebody.
No, we're not talking about 3 divorces. We're talking about 1 divorce or 2 divorces.
Oh, come up with a new dowry.
He has to come up with a new dowry. Right. Are we clear on this so far?
Yes.
You sure?
Yeah.
Because we're about to get into an issue that's a little confusing.
No. Before we get that issue,
Go
I have
ahead.
a question. Now, like as you said, in the school of Imam Ahmed, if you have relations with her, then she's taken back. But let's say, more so an advice I'm asking. Let's say there's a brother that may take the position of Imam Malik or Imam Shafi. Would you advise, right? Let's say she's learning Hanbali fiqh, but her husband, maybe Maliki or Shafi fiqh. Would you advise, I'm asking, that the person, that man or that husband discuss, would it be of wisdom to say, if these situations arise, this is the position that we'll take?
Right. So I understand. So the question, my brother said, what if the sister, the wife, she's divorced, and for example, she understands this school here that if he's intimate with her, he takes her back. But what if the husband follows a different position? He said, would it be wise to discuss that with her prior to having intercourse? I mean, I think that would be wise, right?
Right.
I think that would be wise.
Because you
I'll give you an example.
Right.
Like if that was like your daughter or something,
Right.
you would definitely want to make sure she knew what time it was.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So I think that it would be wise to have that discussion. It's only fair.
Right.
That way people can make informed decisions. A lot of times, it's unfortunate, but when you don't have knowledge about things, you don't get the chance to make informed decisions. You don't get the opportunity to make informed decisions. And in fact, people make decisions for you. Right? And then years later, you find out, well, dang, I didn't know I couldn't do this or I could do this, and no one ever told you. And in fact, sometimes that could even push people away from Islam. Right? So I think it's very wise to have those conversations. If that's what you're planning on doing, you definitely should clarify that. Right? I think everybody deserves the opportunity to make informed decisions. Right? I don't think it's fair. I don't know anyone that would think it's fair that there's an issue that needed to be decided on. You got all the information, they got one piece of it. So then they make their decision based off that one piece that they have, and you have the whole gamut in front of you. I don't think that's fair. Allah knows best. Any other questions before we move to the next part?
Yeah. I don't know if this is kind of off track, but for a dowry has to be offered by the man, not requested by a woman, right? So she can't tell you what
The dowry?
Yes. The dowry, like when you want to marry.
You covered the shit.
I know, but I can't remember. So
A woman could request the dowry, or a man could offer.
If he's taking her back.
I'm sorry?
He's taking her back.
What are we talking about a raj'a, or are we talking about a baynuna sughra? What are you talking about? And then I can answer that. I'm sorry?
When he divorces her.
So he divorces his wife.
Yeah, she makes a ghusl. And he wants to take her back. So
What do you mean she makes a ghusl? You mean the 3 menstrual periods?
Yes.
She finished all of them?
Yes.
So now she's officially separated from him?
Yeah, so you said the only way to take her back is if a new dowry.
Right, new dowry, all of that.
So dowry presented by the man, or does the woman tell the man what she wants for
It
the
could be either or. At the end of the day, she has to accept it. Does that make sense? So if a man wants to offer a dowry, he said, so the question is, if the sister, they divorced, she went through her 3 menstrual periods, right? And so she took her ghusl, now she's separated from the husband. He wants to marry her again. So he has to give her a new dowry, new contract, all of that, right? So he says, well, can he offer the dowry, or can he present the dowry, or does she make the request? And I said to him, she has to accept it, whatever it is. So if you offer something, if she doesn't accept it, then it's not what? It's not dowry, right? She can say, I want this. You can say, well, I can give this. If you guys come to some agreement, then you're good. If there's no agreement, then there's no what? There's no dowry. Is that clear? I don't understand why that's even a question. I don't. Is there some type of understanding that a man offers and she has to accept? Is that the understanding?
There's
I just want. Is that the understanding? Where did that come from? Just imagine somebody comes to your daughter for Someone comes to your daughter for marriage. I'm going to give you $150. And she has to accept that. So So that's what I'm asking. I don't understand where that came from.
I'm gonna tell you, we know better, but there are people who say that they use 2 narrations and they say from them on their own mind that a woman can't pick her dowry. It only comes from a man. They use.
And what is this based on? When the Prophet ﷺ told him to marry the woman, either can a khatam al-dhahab or khatam al-fidda. Like the mushkila, the problem with that is, brothers have to read all of the ahadith, not just one. You can't do that. We say this time and time again. You cannot give Islamic verdicts on one hadith. You can't do that. And this here again, people not making informed decisions. You have a piece of something, but not the whole pie. You took a slice. You can't just take one narration and make that the whole deen is around this one. What about all the other ahadith? What about what the Salaf did? What about all of that? Sure. The Salaf, when we have these different ahadith, and then we look through books like Al-Musannafin from Abd al-Razak al-San'ani, and what's the other Musannaf? Ibn Abi Shayba. We look through these books, you find the Sahaba implementing these ahadith. How did they do it? And then you read through Aqwal of the Salaf, how they did it. All of a sudden now you say a woman can't request? That doesn't even make sense. Did that make sense?
No.
Doesn't make sense. A sister can't request what she wants for a dowry? I'm just saying, just think about what that looks like. Your daughter wants to get married. The guy wants to marry. He says, I'm only going to give her $55. That's it. She has to accept She has to accept $55.
They say out there, she accepts or rejects, that's that.
What do you mean she accepts or rejects? She still get married on that?
No, either she accepts the offer.
Oh, either she accepts the offer or she can't get married.
Yeah, she don't have to say anything. That's bad.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Stuck for a while. Zulm, Zulm is suppression.
No.
This is why it's important for people to stay in their lanes. You either know what you're talking about or you don't. You can't do that. That's not Islam. You can't force people to say, no, this is what it is. But the next part. وإن فرقت عدتها قبل رجعتها بانت وحرمت قبل عقد جديد. طيب. Here, in فرقت عدتها قبل رجعتها. Let's say, for example, if a woman finishes her iddah, her 3 menstrual cycles, before the husband decides to take her back. This means that she is banat. This is bainuna sughra, what we spoke about before, bainuna sughra. Banat, meaning he cannot take her back now. Wa haramat qabla aqdin jadid. And she is not permissible for him to take back unless they have a new contract. Biwali wa shahidai adalin. She has to have a wali and two witnesses. She has to have a wali and two witnesses that are just. A wali and two witnesses that are just. طيب. ومن طلق دون ما يملك. The next issue is if a man divorces a woman دون ما يملك. دون ما يملك, it means that if he divorces her one time or two times. However, he has within his possession three divorces. If he divorces her once or twice, ثم راجع أو تزوج لم يملك أكثر مما بقي. Alright, so here's the issue. I had to write this down because there are different stories here. And this is important. So we have four scenarios here of divorce, right? If a man طلقها وراجعها في عدة. Let's say, for example, if a man divorces his wife one time, right? Then he takes her back. How many divorces does he have left? Two. One raja and one final, right? Okay. So those divorces, they don't go anywhere, do they?
No.
So let's say, for example, he divorced her and took her back in the iddah period. This is important. You have to pay attention to this. All right? That's number one. Any confusion on that?
No.
No. So if he takes his wife back, he knows that he has how many divorces left? Two. The second case. وإن طلقها وبان منه ثم ردها يعني عقد. Right. The next issue. If he divorced his wife, the first divorce, right? And she went through her iddah period. She finished all of her iddah period. Now it's bainuna sughra, meaning he has to come back with a new contract, new dowry, new mahar, all of that, right? Does the previous divorce count? Yes or no?
Yes.
Does it count?
One strike?
Yeah, that first strike, does it count? Do you understand the question?
Yes.
Yeah, but I think
What's the question?
if you reset.
Right.
Does it reset? You get a reset button?
No.
I mean, he has to come up with a new contract and a new
So because he has to come up with a new contract and new dowry, does that mean there's a new reset button for him?
I would think so.
No, there's no reset button. But talqat, the old divorces are mahsub, meaning they're counted now. So let me explain to you. A man divorces his wife one time or two times, and her whole iddah period is over. He comes with a new dowry, new mahar, and all of that, and marries her again. He still have how many divorces on his belt? Two. He has two already. Or if he divorced her one time and he brings her back after her iddah period is over and marries her again, he will have one, right? So he's either going to have one or two divorces when he marries her again, once her menses is over, once her iddah is over. Is that clear?
No.
Those previous divorces count.
Still go against him.
Huh?
Still go against him.
Yes, they still go against.
So they don't drop off.
They don't drop off.
No reset button.
Huh? There's no reset button. The next one. The next issue. Huh? وإذا طلق مرأة وبان منه ثم زوجت رجلا آخر ثم طلقها وردها زوجا أول هل يحدم الطلاق القديم? The next issue. Let's say, for example, a man divorces his wife. A man divorces his wife, right? وَبَانَ مِنْهُ. So let's say he had two divorces. I want you to understand this very carefully. He has two divorces. A man divorces his wife how many times?
Two.
Twice. She went through her whole iddah period, finished her iddah period. She what? She finished her iddah period. Then she what? She married someone else. What did she do?
Married someone else.
She married someone else. She got a divorce from that person. Now the first husband wants her back, so he gives her a new dowry, new everything, and he marries her. How many divorces does he have? Or did he hit the reset button?
So still have one. Still have one
Huh?
left.
Hit the reset.
Hit the reset button. What do you say?
Still have one left.
Still have one left. What do you say?
She consummated with somebody else.
Yeah, she got married. Someone got.
Yeah.
Hit the reset button or no?
No reset button.
No reset button. Those two divorces still count from the previous husband.
Still counts.
This is an ishkal. And this is some of the ulama mentioned. This is an ishkal. This is a bit problematic, but they say it doesn't reset. The only time it resets is when? The only time there's a reset is if a man divorces his wife 3 times.
Right.
وَبَانَ مِنْهُ بَيْنُونَ كُبْرَى, and she separates from him, and he cannot marry her again until she marries someone else, and that person divorces her. At that point in time, if he wants to marry her again, he gets a whole set of downs. Whole set of downs.
Someone asking for the proof.
It's proof.
Yeah.
You want a ayin hadith? You just got aqwal of the salaf. You can look through different books. So the way this works is, I can give you can go to books like Fatul Kabir. I'm sorry, you can go to Sharh al-Kabir, Mughni. You have a lot of statements of the salaf regarding these issues. These are not issues that are, okay, it's clearly this way, clearly that way. These are statements and issues that the ulama have discussed over the years. If you want some examples of, we can come back next week. I'll give you a whole list of examples if that's what you need. طيب. طيب. So there is some khilaf though. On this issue here, the one that we just mentioned about the reset, there's some khilaf on that. There's some difference of opinion on the third one. We have the first, second, the third, and the fourth. Should I repeat them? Can you hear me again? طيب. So it says, Arba Sur Ishkal, it says 4 pictures of 4 situations when you have a talaq raj'iyya. Raj'iyya is when you take her back. It says, طلقها ورجعها في العدة. A man divorces her and then takes her back during the iddah. This is the talaqat mahsuba, meaning if you divorced her one time, you took her back, that means how many divorces do you have left? 2. The second one, وطلقها وبان منه ثم ردها يعني عقد جديد. If you divorced her and you let her iddah period run out and you come back with a new contract, a new dowry and everything, then this counts as, how many divorces does he have left? He still has 2 divorces left, meaning there's no reset button.
Right.
Right? Using football terms, right?
Yeah,
First down,
First down.
new set of downs. So the third one is وطلقها وبان منه ثم زوجت رجلا آخر ثم طلقها وردها زوجا الأول. There's a difference of opinion. If a man divorces his wife, let's say he divorced her 2 times. How many times?
2.
Twice. He divorced her twice. Her iddah period is over. She marries another man. That man divorces her, or she gets a khula, whatever. Right? Now, the first husband wants to marry her again. Does he get a reset or no? This is where the difference of opinion is. According to the school of Imam Ahmed, the position that we're using here is that when he takes her back, he has no more divorces left. Meaning if he divorces her again, that's it. It becomes Baynuna Kubra, which means if he marries her again after she marries someone else, and he still had 1 divorce remaining from the initial marriage. Is that clear? He marries her again, and they get in an argument, he divorces her, that's it. That becomes Baynuna Kubra. This means that they're done. The only way he can marry her again now is if she marries someone else.
Right.
This is one position. There's a Qawl al-Thani, there's another position with Imam Ahmed. And a lot of these positions, these are positions of the Salaf. These are not stuff that modern scholars come up with. Right? These are stuff that were hashed out in the 1st century of Islam. Right? The next one is, if she marries someone else, just her marrying someone else resets the 3. This is the second position. Right?
Within the school of Imam Ahmed.
Yes, within the school of Imam Ahmed. But that's not the prominent position. Right? And then the last one which is, everyone should understand. That's when 3 divorces, there's automatically a what? Huh?
No more left.
If you divorce a woman 3 times, she marries someone else, and then they get a divorce and they want to come back to you, it's what? It's a reset. Easy? Plain. Right. The next issue. And this is another one. It says, وَإِنِ ادَّعَتْ انْقِضَاءَ عِدَّتِهَا فِي زَمَنٍ يُمْكِنْ انْقِضَاؤُهَا فِيهِ. Let's say, for example, the next part here, it says, what is the ruling for a woman that claims her iddah is over and the husband says it's not? Does that make sense? Let's say, for example, a brother divorced his wife. And he says, no, I'm taking her back. She says, no, my iddah's over. I've already finished. This is the scenario. Okay? Like, it says, وَإِنْ دَعَتْ انْقِضَاءَ عِدَّتِهَا فِي زَمَنٍ يُمْكِنْ انْقِضَاؤُهَا فِيهِ. They say, if she claims that her iddah is finished, and it's the amount of time in which her iddah could be finished, and or she has a child, وَأَنْكَرَهُ, and if the husband says, no, that's not true, so they say, أَنْكَرَهُ فَقَوْلُهَا. If she were to go to court, the court would take her statement over his. The court would take what? Her statement over his. Like, the next issue. وَإِنِ ادَّعَتْهُ حُرَّةٌ بِالْحَيْضِ فِي أَقَلِّ مِنْ 29 يَوْمًا وَلَحْظَةً لَمْ تُسْمَعْ دَعْوَاهَا. Let's say, for example, okay, so before we talk about this, we did this class a couple years ago about hayd and nifas, the menses for a woman. Aqallu hayd, the lowest or the smallest number of days a woman can have her menses is what is it? Does anyone know?
15.
La.
The lowest number.
3 days? La. What they say? They say something? All right. Sisters, do you know the lowest number of hayd for a woman? What is it? For the menses, what is the lowest number? Lowest number of days, the lowest amount of days. 3? La. The lowest number of days, yawma wa layla, 1 day. The lowest number of days is how many days? 1 day. 1 day and 1 night. Right? وَأَقَلُّ طُهْرٍ. The lowest number of days of purification between menses is how many days? Let's say, for example, a woman has her menses go off, and she's pure for, what's the lowest number of days? La. Huh? 13 to 15. 13 to 15. Is that clear? Fine. So here, let's think for a minute. A woman has to go through her iddah. How many menses? 3 menses, right? So the first mens would be 1 day and 1 night, and then 13 days, that's 14 days, right? The second one would be 1 day, 1 night, and then that's another 14 days. So how many days? Right now we're at 28, right? Then our mens come on again, 1 day and 1 night. That's what? 29 days, right? So they said it cannot be less than 29 days. If a woman claims that she went through her menses period, her whole iddah, less than 29 days, they say, lam tusma da'waha. Then the judges wouldn't listen to her claim and they wouldn't accept it. Does that make sense? So essentially what they're saying is a woman cannot finish her iddah period in less than 29 days. In less than 29 days, she cannot finish her iddah period. Right. The next part here, it says, إذا استوفى ما يملك من طلاق حرمت حتى يطأها زوجا في قبل. If a man divorces his wife and she has 3 divorces and he cannot take her back until she marries someone else and that person consummates the marriage. There has to be a true consummation of the marriage in order for a true consummation divorce in order for her to be married to the first husband again. So, it's not permissible then for a person to have anal intercourse and consider that to be, even though it's haram, it still doesn't count. Likewise, shubha, having intercourse out of shubha, meaning the marriage itself is questionable of its validity. The next one is nikah fasid, that is a marriage that is not clear, meaning a marriage with no wali, etc. Wala fi haydin, or if he was intimate with her during her menses. So for example, if a man was intimate with his spouse during her menses and then he divorced her, it still doesn't count because it was during her menses. Or nifasin, or he was intimate with her after childbirth. Or ihram, to say she's in a state of ihram, making umrah or hajj, etc. Or siyam fard, or if she's fasting an obligatory fast. Either of those things will also nullify her from going back to the first husband if she were married during, or if she was intimate during any of those times. If she was intimate during any of those times. Right. And the last issue here, let's say for example a woman, she divorced his wife 3 times. Now it's Bainuna Kubra. She married someone else. They got a divorce. And she wants to come back to the husband, the first husband. فَلَهُ نِكَاحُهَا إِن صَدَّقَهَا. But let's say the husband, the other one who divorced her, he's not present. No one can find him. No one knows what happened. They say it is okay for the first husband to marry her in صَدَّقَهَا, if he believes her that her iddah is over, etc. If he believes her that her iddah is over, etc. And we're going to finish with that, inshallah. The next class we'll start the book of Ilah. The book of Ilah. If we have any questions, we'll answer them, or we'll just leave it with that, inshallah. Sisters, if you have any questions in the back, send them up. Somebody said something? I can't hear.
I got a question. Can you tell me what the name of the person is again that if a man and a woman get a divorce after the 3rd time, she knows she can't take them back. One of them, the man or the woman, sets up with another man to marry his wife.
No, this is haram.
I know.
It's muhallil. It's called the muhallil. You asked that last week.
What's the last?
Yeah. Because he answered. What about you? Which is like 2 times. The last time she went to a whole lot of food and that. What time you took her back before you put someone like this one? Sure. The sister said, what if a husband divorced his wife 2 times and the last time she asked for a khul'a? What's the ruling on that? There's a difference of opinion on this. Majority of the ulama, they consider when a person asks for a khul'a, this also counts as mahsuba, meaning it counts towards the talaqat. It counts towards the divorces. So some of the ulama would consider this to be 3 divorces. However, there are other ulama like Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah and others that if a woman requested or if she was divorced twice and the khul'a is separate from the divorce, so she can get a khul'a different times, and they would consider this not to be the same. So she said, well, could someone like this remarry? They could remarry depending on what position you believe is the correct position. If you believe that the khul'a counts towards the divorces, then no, you cannot remarry. Then the sister will have to marry someone else, and then at that point in time, they would have to get a divorce, and then potentially they marry again. And if you hold the other position, position of Shaykh al-Islam and some of the other ulama, that the khul'a is not like the divorce, so therefore he could marry her again with a new contract, new dowry. However, he would only have one divorce left, and if he divorced her again, then she will be considered baynuna kubra, which means that he cannot marry her again until she marries someone else. That's the only question? طيب. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب. One more? Right there. طيب. So, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Can a man neglect his wife's needs, maintenance, due to disobedience? What prompts this and what would cancel this? There are brothers who use this as a means to not provide for an extended amount of time. In general, we covered this before, and we're going to cover this again when we get to the book of nafaqah, the book of taking care of a wife. In general, if a woman does not listen to her husband, in Islam this is called najiz, imra'atan najiz, nashes, I'm sorry, not najiz, nashes, right? And in this case, a woman that does not listen to her husband, she is not entitled to certain nafaqah. She is not entitled to certain nafaqah, certain expenditures. But she wants to, what are the limits? What are the limits to this? This should not be an open-ended question or open-ended answer. This is something that maybe the husband and the wife should sit down and talk to somebody about what's going on in that situation. But in general, in Islam, if a woman does not listen to her husband, then she, in general, is not entitled to certain things as it relates to nafaqah or maintenance, if you will. However, there was a time we mentioned a while back, there was a lecture one of the mashayikh gave to some group of brothers in America. Were you there? And a brother asked one of the mashayikh if it was permissible, did he have to care for his wife or spend on his wife because she didn't listen? And the sheikh said no, and he had mentioned that his wife needed medical assistance because she had cancer. Now, the thing is this, from a husband-wife perspective, it may not be obligatory for him to do that because she's not listening. But from a Muslim to a Muslim perspective, it may be obligatory because there may be no other way that she can get aid and assistance. So there's a lot of different aspects. And also we have to always keep in mind the maqasid al-sharia. The intent behind Islamic legislation is very important. Obviously, you're not going to sit and let you see a Muslim suffering in pain, and you're not going to aid and assist your brother or sister in Islam. This goes against the maqasid of Sharia. This goes against the intent behind the legislation of the Sharia. At any event, we'll revisit this issue again when we get to the book of nafaqah, which is coming up really soon, inshallah. And with that, we're going to finish. We're going to call the adhan. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta. Astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.